November in the Adirondacks is a strange kind of quiet. The tourists, they're gone. The camps, they're shuttered. And the only sounds you hear are the wind through the trees and the occasional crack of a rifle echoing through the hills. It's deer season. It's a sacred time for hunters. And solitude. And sometimes a way of life. But in 2015, in the wilderness north of Brant Lake, New York, an 82-year-old man named Thomas Mezik disappeared during that season. And what followed became one of the, well, most baffling vanishings in New York State history. And despite one of the largest coordinated searches ever mounted in the Adirondacks, involving forest rangers, police, drones, helicopters, divers, and even cadaver dogs, not one single clue was ever found. Not a boot print, not a hat, not even his rifle. It's as if the forest simply took him. This is the vanishing of Thomas Mezik, the hunter who walked into the woods and never came out. What do you think of that? Yeah, you ever heard of this one?
No.
I piqued your interest there as soon as I said Adirondack Mountains, and you were like, what? What'd you find out for this episode? Because if you're new here, the voice you're hearing, it's me, it's Beard Laws. The giggle over there is the beautiful Dun Queen, Meg. And
Hello.
she's an Adirondacker. She loves the mountains, grew up in the mountains, and to be honest, she doesn't ever know the notes. I do the research. We get in here. We just love the free flow of Meg's tidbits and sprinkles of the episodes. But I wasn't even sure where Brant Lake, New York was. Do you have any guesses?
I'm gonna guess towards Vermont.
Closer to Vermont. That's a solid guess. Our location, it's roughly just under 3 hours. And if you're looking on the Google Maps, it's closer to, I think, Warrensburg, Lake George area. So down that way. Maybe people might know Lake George because it's got Six Flags. The Great Escape. Glens Falls used to be home of the basketball Final Four for boys basketball in the state of New York. Fort Edward, Bolton Landing. So down that way. Over yonder there, Shroon Lake. You know what I'm saying? Picking up what I'm putting down? This one's interesting. I figured, you know what, spooky season's over, but after spooky season comes political season. Turns out I don't care for that very much, but it is hunting season. Turns out I don't overly care for that much either, but this story caught my interest. So, you want to get right into this?
Let's do it.
All right. I feel like to understand the story, you really need to know who Tom Mezik was. He was born May 9th, 1933. He grew up in Troy, New York. You heard of Troy?
I have.
And like a lot of boys from, what they call upstate towns, even though it's pretty much just in the middle or south, because everything is south from us, he did learn early how to hunt, fish, and work hard, right? Kind of like a lot of people that I grew up with, right?
Yeah.
Not me, but a lot of people I grew up with. He joined the U.S. Army during the Korean War, serving with the 82nd Airborne Division, the same division that was known for high-risk parachute jumps and operations.
Well, that sounds fun.
So to easily put it, one tough sumbitch, right?
Yeah.
He was a man who knew survival, discipline, and how to keep his bearings. After retiring from General Electric, he spent his golden years teaching hunter safety courses for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, also known as the DEC. This guy knew hunting. This guy knew woods. This was a guy that you've back in your day probably served a cup of coffee to a guy like this. You know what I mean?
Definitely
Sat down,
have.
orders 2 eggs, a couple of toast and some bacon.
Poached over hash.
Coffee black.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Tom, he wasn't reckless. And he actually taught other people how to not get lost. He was married for over 60 years, raised 3 sons, and had several grandchildren. To his friends, Tom was the old timer, still out there hunting, and he would out hunt pretty much every one of the young guys at camp. Tough sumbitch. And every year, like clockwork, he joined the same small group of hunting buddies for a deer season near Brant Lake, which was a quiet, heavily wooded area between Chestertown and Hague in the southern Adirondacks. The tradition would end November 15th, 2015. Because that Sunday morning, That group met near Lily Pond Road, a rough dirt access trail off State Route 8 or Route 8. They were in Horner Mountain State Forest, part of a rugged 46,000 acre stretch known for its steep ridges, its wetlands, and its heavy cover. The hunters, they split into two groups. One group, Tom, would act as the sitters, spaced along a ridge to watch for deer. Right?
Mhm.
What's the other group, Meg? You knew all about this. You were telling me all about this the other day.
The drivers.
The other group is the drivers. What do the drivers do?
They spook them.
They spook them.
Spook them out.
They just walk through the woods, right?
Mhm.
Clapping, making noises, sometimes wearing bright orange hats like Disney or characters Tigger, right?
Yeah.
And the point is, when you're doing a drive, you get a whole bunch of people. Like Meg said, you push them, you spook them, you try to get the deer to go to the people that are sitting there. And then when they sit there, they go, kappa! And they got some dinner. Okay. Well, Tom was dropped off about 400 yards from the road. Not too far, right? Maybe a little longer than a soccer field.
Yeah.
He was in camouflage. He had a .308 rifle. He had a walkie-talkie. And he had a bright orange hat. Men who dropped him off noted the area was thick brush. It was rolling terrain, but nothing that was dangerous at all. The drive began around 10:30 in the morning. Around noon, when the drive ended, they began to regroup. One by one, hunters, they checked in on the radio. I'm here. I'm here. You there? Yep, yep, yep. Everyone did, except for Tom. He never responded. And they searched right away, right? Yeah, immediately. His friends, they combed the woods for hours. They shouted his name. They even just started to fire off shots. Maybe he'd respond with a shot back if he was down. He'd hear them, come to them. Again, this is Tom. This is a guy that was built for this. He's done this more than anybody in that group. But there was just nothing. 4:30 p.m., daylight, it's fading very quickly. Temperatures, they're dropping pretty quickly. They decide they should probably call 911. Within hours, Forest Ranger Joe Hess was on scene and a full-scale search began before midnight. Started just as a missing person case, quickly became one of the strangest operations New York had ever seen. What's your initial gut telling you, Meg?
I don't know.
It's weird, right?
It's very weird.
And so, I mean, you could potentially think maybe it's a group of buddies. Maybe he's one of the drivers, accidentally gets shot, and then they panic and cover up.
Maybe he fell, hit his head, is just disoriented, gets lost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird. Something's just off. So over the next 8 days, there were more than 300 people involved. State police, rangers, volunteer firefighters, licensed guys, search dogs, divers, and aerial units used forward-looking infrared cameras, FLIR, mounted on helicopters, just looking for anything, ATVs. They had a grid search. There was patterns. They did everything the right way that they've done, unfortunately, a lot. There is missing hikers, and, that they felt that their patterns were so tight that at that point, like the people that were searching, their tracks were actually overlapping. It was so good. And they covered over 4,000 acres. But there was nothing. No single trace. Not even a single footprint. I mean,
It's weird.
Yeah. If you've ever hunted the Adirondacks, I personally haven't, but I know people that have. You know it's pretty hard to disappear completely. Yes, it's woods. Yes, it's forest, but I mean, within hours of him sitting in that tree stand, not only his buddies that know those woods pretty darn good, 300 people can't find him, searching over 4,000 acres. Something's not right, right? And it's tough to just disappear completely. Even a lost glove can stand out on top of the leaf litter, you know what I mean? Especially a bright orange hat and everything, but there was just nothing. So we get to the third day, state police, they brought in the dive team. There's a nearby pond called...
I was going to say that.
Yeah, Lily Pond, which was at the time a series of beaver flowages. Nothing. They didn't find a single thing. Aviation units conducted heat scans. No anomalies. Tracking dogs, they followed the scent for a few yards, and then the scent just stopped. Cold. And you're thinking that's enough, but there's something else, Meg. Something... Even the people that were, doing the search, in charge of the search, later admitted a little bit quietly their radios malfunctioned. They experienced a lot of unexplained static, sudden bursts of metallic clicking, and then dead zones in places where communications have always been pretty clear. And it got bad enough that the forest ranger has actually mentioned it in a post-operation note, though it never appeared in the official DEC public statement. Some of them kind of said it felt like the woods were talking back. Others, they felt that it was just blocking out what they were saying.
Interesting.
Isn't it? I mean, you're talking 2015, a decade ago. Technology wasn't like super, super great, but it wasn't the late 90s, you know what I mean? They had technology. It doesn't make sense. 100 searched. Tom's family waited. His wife, Beverly, who was married to him for over 6 decades, stayed home in Troy, just waiting, just hoping for the word. I couldn't imagine just sitting there waiting for that call. Then his son, John, and several grandchildren, they actually joined the searchers. John was blunt. He didn't want her off. Somebody knows something. That's what my gut says. He's 82. He was in decent health. I mean, he's not going to be in the woods if he says, has dementia or has failing health where he's just going to go off on something. It's not like, he's trained for this. I mean, he's not going to just, I don't know. Something doesn't make sense. Something doesn't make sense at all. And then John actually told reporters from the Times-Union that his father had limited mobility in one arm, which is an old injury from military service. He wouldn't have gone far from his post. He wasn't the type to just leave an assigned spot. It's military trained. Family also said that Tom never took off his hunter orange hat, and that alone should have made him pretty easy to spot in many searches, including air searches. The Meziks, they weren't angry. They were very thankful for the searchers, but they did at times get very frustrated because there was just no clues. Like, how is there nothing?
Very strange.
Yeah. And one of the rangers was reported saying later, if a man had vanished off the face of the earth, this is exactly what it would look like. How do you just vanish off the face of the earth? I don't understand this.
Yeah, there should have been something.
Something. Like they said, a footprint, a hat. How does the dogs have his scent? And then within a few yards, nothing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a bear? There still would have been something, right? You think?
I was thinking mountain lion.
Or a mountain lion? Still would have been something.
But there would have been traces.
You would think, right?
Clothing.
Not like a mountain lion is going to attack and drag so far out of a 4,000 acre. There's going to be remnants.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something's not. But here's where things get a little unsettling, Meg. His disappearance wasn't the only one. About 30 miles east, in a place that I've already mentioned, Shroon Lake, near there was another man named Frederick, who they called Pete Bronkert, age 82. Also disappeared while hunting 1 year later, in November. Same time, same kind of terrain, same age bracket. Guess what? They never found his body either. Both of these men, they were seasoned outdoorsmen. They both vanished within a 20-mile radius of the same mountain corridor that stretches between Brant Lake and Farrow Lake Wilderness. You could almost draw a line right through that stretch. What do they say? Almost as straight as the arrow or the crow flies. Isn't that a saying? That's weird.
It's very weird.
Locals, they were quietly calling it the Triangle. From Brant Lake to Farrow Lake, down to Shroon Lake, hunters have gone missing there for decades. Most of them, thankfully, were found days later. They're cold, but alive. But a few like Tom and a few like old Pete, they were just never seen again.
Portal?
You think so? But then why do some come back after a couple of days? We got ourselves an Adirondack Triangle. Should we go investigate these woods?
No.
Good. I was hoping you said that.
I'm going to say no. Hard no on that.
Big hard no, especially during hunting season. Even if we plan on hiking some of them southern Adirondack trails, we're staying right out of that triangle. We're going to have a body cam and an Apple AirTag. December.
I'd rather not come across any bears and
mountain lions
anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be really good with that.
Yeah.
Or what we'll have to do is we'll have to bring some of these people around these, our parts that enjoy bear hunting, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That way they can handle our business, keep an
Mhm.
eye on us. Maybe they're the hunters with the rifles and they're the ones that come missing, not us. That'd be pretty rude, though. Invite somebody out and hunt and then they disappear in the Adirondack Triangle.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't do that.
No. Producer, go ahead and edit that part out. Just kidding. All right. December 2015, the official search was suspended after 8 days. But they said that the volunteers would continue through spring. And something odd happened, Meg. Something that doesn't happen with cases like this in areas like this. The FBI got involved. The FBI. Because typically, the FBI doesn't enter missing person searches unless a federal crime is suspected. Or the case has some element of national interest. Which one do you think it is?
National interests.
So reporters are going to ask the hard-hitting questions. And they said, hey, why? Like, when one person said, we're providing logistical support. That seems like a little tiptoe around that one, right?
Yeah.
But then locals started to report unmarked vehicles and plain-clothed agents being seen interviewing searchers weeks after the operation ended. We got some Men in Black stuff coming up here. They talked to several of the 300 searchers. Just people, plainclothes, unmarked vehicles. But there's another odd detail, Meg. Fort Drum, ever heard of it?
Sure have.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't, it's a massive U.S. Army base. It lies about 90 miles northwest of Brant Lake. It's a big place, right? It's like a city within a city, close to and in Watertown, New York, for anybody that wants to hit up the Google Maps. Several retired soldiers from the region speculated that radar or training operations could have interfered with electronics that weekend. But the Army never commented. What if the military was doing some kind of training? And what if something happened? And what if they covered something up? Ex-Army guy, 82-year-old. I mean, if anybody's going to know how to potentially make it look like somebody has disappeared from the face of the earth, probably could be some Army people, right? Officially, though, New York State Police declared the case unsolved. No evidence of foul play. There wouldn't be any evidence if our own military training was going on too, though, right? Unofficially, even veteran rangers said that they had never seen anything like this. DEC Forest Ranger Captain John Solon later told reporters he didn't find a piece of clothing, a boot, a gun, or a hat. He just vanished. Now what are you thinking?
That's so, I don't know, it's fishy.
You think so? So fishy, and they were hunting. Imagine if they were fishing. There wasn't even a boat.
It's aliens.
You think so? You think an abduction?
I don't know.
I mean, after all the weird lights we've been seeing in the sky, anything's possible.
Yeah.
I'll throw out a couple of theories that were proposed.
Sure.
Okay, this is one. Medical emergency or accident at 82 years old. It's possible that Tom had a heart attack or maybe fell into a ravine, right?
You would think the heat seekers.
But if you fell into a ravine, I don't think it would pick up heat sensors. And if it's colder in November, body temperatures drop. Possible. But ground searches covered all nearby elevation drops and there was no sign of any disturbance at all. Theory 2, abduction. Unlikely, but not impossible. Brant Lake is pretty sparsely populated. A single truck could have driven those forest roads unnoticed, but they didn't find tire tracks or evidence of a struggle. But I mean, you got a couple of people over the decades. Maybe there's just somebody living in the woods, got too close to their place and said, we're going to do something about it. I don't know. Then there's one that we thought about. Maybe it was an animal attack. But again, there was no blood. There was no drag marks. And even a black bear. It's going to leave something behind. A mountain lion. Going to leave something behind. What if it's Bigfoot? Is he going to leave anything behind?
I thought Bigfoot too.
It was just Bigfoot, and then just went back into the other dimension with Tom.
Yeah, because if it's animal, you would think bones would be left. They don't typically eat the bones.
Yeah. But you are looking for bones in a very dense forest as well. The other one was, what if Tom just decided he was good with life and just unalived himself? It was dismissed by his family and friends. He didn't have a history of depression, and he'd been planning a Thanksgiving gathering the following week. Another theory is the missing 411 pattern. There's a researcher out there, David Paulides, included Mezik's case in his missing 411 Hunter's book. The strange consistencies were undeniable. Vanished near water, vanished near boulders. Sudden weather change during the first 24 hours, which meant a cold front and a mist just happened to roll in overnight. And all of them were experienced hunters, no trace, and equipment failure. Massive search with trained searchers, no results. Whether you believe in the supernatural or just eerie coincidences, those facts, they line right up. We need to check out that. Will you remind me after this? We're going to look up the missing 411. All right. Yeah, I don't know. And then here's a lesser known one. 3 separate locals reported hearing a loud metallic crash in the woods around 11 a.m. that day, about the time Tom potentially could have gone missing. And they could never figure out what that metallic crash ever was. Weird, right?
Weird.
Could it have been a weird sound through training? Well, you've heard some weird sounds from Fort Drum area training.
I have.
Have you ever heard a loud metallic crash?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I don't know. But in the years since, hunters, they still visit the area. Many leave tokens, orange tape, caps, even notes. Tom's son, John, still visits every November and said that Dad was the kind of man who'd stay put and wait for us to find him. But we didn't. And I don't think he just got lost. DEC's official files still list it as an open missing person case number 2015-1421. But internally, rangers call it the one that haunts us. Because it's not just about a man who went missing, it's about how nothing at all was left behind. No remains, no trail, no closure. Sometimes the woods don't take. Maybe sometimes they choose, Meg. And sometimes they don't give back what they take. What do you think?
So strange.
It's wild.
So is this other guy, is his story like pretty much exactly the same?
Both around 82. Both seasoned hunters. Similar area, similar time. Cold fronts roll in.
Did the same kind of investigation get put in place?
I think that Tom's was a little bit more ramped up, but they still obviously looked for old Pete. But a lot of similarities in these missing people over the decades. Mm-hmm. That's why the missing 411 is very intriguing to me. Things that make you go,
Yeah, it's a strange one.
And I mean, let's be honest, the Adirondacks, they're beautiful. But they're old. They're older than our towns, older than our trails, and older than our memory of what's been lost inside them, And when you walk into the woods, you're stepping into something ancient, something that maybe watches, listens, and sometimes just stays silent. For men like Tom, that silence, unfortunately, is eternal. This was The Vanishing of Thomas Mezik, a story of a hunter, a mystery in a forest that keeps its secrets. And I'm Matt, and that's Meg, and this is the Yore Town podcast. We challenge you all to stay curious, stay cautious. If you ever find yourself deep in the pines, just remember, sometimes the quiet isn't empty. I'll do this again next week.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well, right?
Might as well.
Definitely never gonna continually want to go hunting, especially because of this. Appreciate everybody taking some time listening to the old Yore Town podcast. We'll be back next week. That's all we got. Bye-bye.
Bye.